Yeah. I like what you say, where it feels like a hero they go for when things are going badly for them, or like, maybe they feel outclassed, like they just have to go for a comfort pick or something that, okay, maybe it's not the best Timber game, but we've seen what Womi can do just because it's such a, you know, signature hero of his that's usually banned. Because, yeah, I kind of agree. It doesn't look like an amazing Timber game. Yeah, it's good against the Mars, but against the Bane Quap, it's not great. And then you're also picking it when your opponents can, usually you're picking Timber and then banning out the counters. Well, guess what? Polaris have a pick, and they're going to pick one of the heroes with a lot of magic damage that can deal with the Timber and get Batrider.
Yeah, that's an interesting bat pick because for Polaris, this is also super flex. We've seen Boomy or Xavius play that a lot on support before. So it could be one of those greedy pause fours for Polaris to run now to kind of maybe deal with the Timbersaw down in line, maybe even just lane matching, as you mentioned there, to counteract him. And it kind of opens up the lanes for Polaris, right? Like, so the Quap is likelier mid here for Mac for Lelouch. The Mars is likelier off lane for Force, but if things get really dicey, if they're not confident with matchups at all, they can easily swap any of these trio heroes around between support and core. Like even the Quap can
Yeah.
be run as pause 4 for Xavius. We've seen that before, maybe like 2 years before. It's been a while since Quap 4 has really popped off. Even the Mars support is something that Xavius has done before, so it's really playing into what Polaris wants here.
Yeah, like if you don't want to play Mars core into Timber, you just don't. Mars support isn't like your conventional way of playing the hero, but it's definitely doable. And the one thing that Army Geniuses now have going for them is that they can ban out some of those carries that lane well against the Timber. So they ban out Luna, they ban out the Ursa, which is the one I thought they might pick up instead of the Batrider. But yeah, for Army Genius, they're scratching their heads thinking who's going which lane, who's going where. This is a lot of flexibility, and that's something that can make things hard for Army Genius when it comes to this last pick. At some point, they just go draft themselves. I guess I'm curious. Do you think the Monkey King's just like a core? Is there any potential for a Monkey King support these days?
Yeah, I think it can still slot in as the 4. I think the team that really made Pause 4 Monkey King look absolutely busted was Boom. It does look like AG is going to be shifting that on the corridor for DB, so we're going to have the Abaddon as their 5, Grimstroke as their 4 this time around. It does make sense. You've got a great protective support now to kind of deal with a Batrider. You don't have to worry too much about the grip or the lasso, but you kind of have to worry about both of them being committed in one hero if it's staggered. So even if one is blocked off, the other one's going to go true. And that is still a cause of concern for Polaris. And for AG's end, I mean, having the Monkey King on core rather than support, you gain a lot in terms of big farming here that can fight kind of early on with just one early item pickup, but you lose a lot of that vision play. Right? The map denial of the Monkey King 4 is kind of gone. So you don't have that forward scouting potential for AG, and they don't really have the most mobile lineup as well outside of Timb. It's only really the Timbersaw that can jump in comfortably, have the Inkswell on top. The Kunkka doesn't really go for blinks. You can maybe go for a Shadow Blade into a Silver Edge, but you tend to kind of prioritize the Armlet and BKB for durability early on. So I think when it comes down to it, you might have been better off running a Monkey 4 just to have something that can play with the Timbersaw as jumps in, because right now the follow-up is going to be a bit slower, at least until maybe a couple of items get built up here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how they kind of get around that problem as we get into Polaris' last pick now, which is going to be a Troll Warlord. So they're kind of limited maybe on carry options and decide to go for the Troll. Also, guys, apologize. The overlay is it's not 0-0. Polaris are up 1-0. Still trying to figure out how to how to get some of the technical stuff going, but it's 1-0 with Polaris ahead. Don't be fooled by the score in front of you. Troll Warlord, what do you think of this one, John?
It's an Natsumi special. We've seen him fall back to this troll throughout his time in Detroit, throughout his time in Smart Omega when they were still around, and when he was playing under this almost exact same roster. It's something he knows how to play the ins and out of. He doesn't have anything to be worried about, really. Like, maybe the lane matchup against Timbersaw is still pretty bad, so I think Wami might still be able to apply some early pressure onto Natsumi, but it's still a comfort pick for him, and he knows how to win the game with it. And I think with the lineup of Polaris, with shifting Lelouch onto the Batrider mid, having Xavius play that Quap 4, it's playing into their strengths again. Like, you've got this less common offlane duo with Mars and Quap, but there's a lot of damage there, right? Like, there's a ton you can pump out there, especially by level 3, that I don't think an Abaddon can really fully block out. Like, Aphotic Shield, level 2 and 1 level in Mistquill is nice, but it's not enough to really block off that magical burst and control that Polaris will have. So as the levels scale on, I think Polaris are going to look at that offlane. look to really apply that pressure onto DB. It's still a Mars versus Monkey King lane, which can go back and forth, building up the stacks and the Monkey King healing back. At the same time, it's going to be hard for DB to just run out, especially once level 6 is up on Force and the arena's ready. So a lot of back and forth. I would favor Polaris' draft just because they've got these really strong comfort picks with Lelouch's Batrider, with Natsumi's Troll. I think they set themselves up to have a really good game 2 here.
All right, well, we'll get ourselves into game number 2 shortly and see how things unravel. But yeah, the adjustment, putting the Batrider mid can definitely cause them some problems, as we'll be seeing how Army Genius respond to this one. So you're thinking Polaris then, it sounds like. You're at least favoring them based on the draft and where they ended things up then, John.
Be hard by the recent typhoon.
Yeah.
So, it's a rough time for them. But as you mentioned, GoDz, this for Filipino players, this is just like any other day. Playing in that shop is basically just going back to the early 2000s here.
Yep. We'll see whether or not they let it affect them, or how they kind of approach this one as we get ourselves into the game and get things underway here. Let me bring back in some Dota 2 sounds. There we go. Got some Dota 2 sounds going. And yeah, it will be, I guess, no big surprise, it looks like, with the lane setup. Monkey King is going to get to play against the Mars in the top lane, but it will be this mid matchup of Batrider versus Kunkka, where perhaps we have to keep our eyes a bit on Azura and see how he fares, because that feels like a lane where he potentially may struggle. We saw his Tinker get slightly beaten by the Lina in game number 1, but this is definitely a game where, he's going to have to play very cautiously.
Yeah, you're going to have to just see how much they can get out of that lane. I think there were some words thrown out in all chats as well. You were saying that you're going to have to face a problem with the Batrider. A bit of an engagement for these runes, though.
Yeah, Natsumi trying to face up and take it away, but it is going to go Womi's way. The Timbersaw willing to put his body on the line to secure it. And it will just be some harass, some tangos maybe forced out from both sides. I say tangos, Troll doesn't even buy tangos. I love these offlaners and carry players these days, not even buying their own tangos. You've got Mars with the full gauntlet build. They're just like supports, pull me tangos, right?
Pretty much. I think they also just kind of bank on getting those early bounty runes to at least supply one tango set in the lane, but they prioritize those early stats. Yeah. We're going to have to see how the lane breaks out. Natsumi and the Troll, very strong comfort pick for him. For Army Geniuses, having Timbersaw plus the Grimstroke does mean you've got the Inkswell chain forward, and you can look to be aggressive, but you have to respect Xavius on that Quap. It just so much early damage, so much early trading the Quap can do, especially when you go for the Shadow Strike. You just run up, get a little bit of HP regen going your way, trade right clicks, and win out the trade every single time. It's not something LYM can really match up in the first 3 levels. It's not something Wami can deal with until some levels are up and reactive. So I think for the initial levels, Polaris are going to feel a lot better, and you can already see AG's kind of being driven away from that creep wave here.
Yeah. They are losing this harass trade. Perhaps things will settle down a bit when the Quap uses up most of her mana pool. She's going to have to bring out some Mangoes and Clarities, because already 3 Shadow Strikes down, and she's basically only got maybe 1 left in about 20 seconds. So one nice thing they have to look forward to, but this level 1 fight has basically gone pretty poorly for them, with Natsumi controlling the wave so far. Yep. He's trying to kill him. Yeah, he's got the Torrent now to follow the X. Pulls him back. He's still got a lot of 1 charges, so Lelouch is going to keep on trying to fight him, but he ran out of mana, so he couldn't keep up the Napalm stack, so no kill, but Lelouch does get his bottle out. That's what he's been waiting for. He's going to need a rune. And Kunkka quite a ways away from his bottle because of this Magic Wand pickup.
Yeah, and that's going to give Lelouch a little bit more to play with. I don't think Azura is going to mind too much, as we talked about. You don't need too much mana to really trade hits with a Kunkka, but a melee hero against Batrider is never fun, no matter what. Like, at least you have the X to break off the aggression from Lelouch. It's still going to take a lot of work from Azura to kind of get that lane going, and I think he's going to have to watch himself. He's going to have to really play around with small camp, start to consider that catch-up farm, because Lelouch is going to be able to control this lane really well, especially once he hits, say, level 5, even without the lasso.
Yeah. Did a good job making the most of the first couple of levels before the Batrider has kill threat, but now that Batrider has bottle and level 4, that kill threat means he has to play very cautiously, so we'll see if he oversteps or if he continues to play it well. Looking at some of these side lanes, you've got both carries, Troll, Monkey King, kind of getting their farm out of their lanes, equal on CS with 19 apiece. So neither carry really being pressured up here. The Abaddon doing a good job just securing the Monkey's lane. This lane kind of going how you'd expect, or did you think the Bane Monkey might do a bit better? Sorry, the Bane Mars.
I think it's two expectations. It's a melee hero up against Monkey. There's a lot of trading you can do on DB. You can be much more offensive. You've got protection of Varish. He does opt for the Curse of Avernus as well. So if Force does step too far, get stunned up, and then you get the follow-up slows, it can be really easy to kind of pressure that Mars in the early levels. And Mavis is a very defensive support in Bane. There's always the Nightmare saves to play with. At the same time, he can't really win out trades with an Abaddon because he just pops a shield, runs him down, tries to get the slow, and trades back. So it's not a very clear-cut lane. I think AG is doing a really good job of just securing that initial farm in DB. It's going to have to pay off. Because you're so tied in with that Abaddon, though, does allow Mavis a little bit more flexibility to rotate, and they do secure at least one Water Rune, get a stack going as well, and this is where Polaris' lineup can really shine. With a couple of stacks, if it's not contested by AG, the Batrider is going to be really fat very early on.
Alright, well, we'll see if they can keep kind of rotating and contesting or not, because so far we always had the Grimstrike at the TP mid once to kind of help out the Kunkka, but Kunkka having hit level 5, he's, you know, almost a full level ahead of this Batrider, but there is a bit of aggression as he pushes forward, forces out an X, and Batrider will be, once again, thwarted in his attempts to go on this Kunkka.
Just that back and forth you expect. Again, as a Kunkka, you've always got the X to break that off. You can already see Azura again playing for the small camp, just building up farm while he can. They've got a lot of good wards here from AG watching their side of the river. So they're protecting that Kunkka's initial farm, trying to get their own stacks going, but it does allow Polaris to actually scout that out. With the mobility you have in Savius, he's just jumping all over the place, checking out those stacks, and maybe making a game plan to contest them down the line.
Yeah, so far no stacks coming except for the double stack of the Ancients, but yeah, as you said, Xavier's just keeping tabs of it, making sure he knows what's going on. He's looking for some early urn charges too. You don't usually feel good about just sitting on this 0 charge urn when you're rushing this item, so he's hoping that maybe there's some kind of kill opening somewhere on the map, and perhaps the Lelouch TP back in could be the hero he looks to play around, but so far Kunkka now level 6 as well, not going to be an easy kill by any means. But often a lot of fighting around these 6-minute runes, which are coming up with a lot of supports rotating on in. Abaddon's come in to block the Radiant Ancients as well to make sure that there's no stacking going on, and Mavis has to be careful. He's not going to win this right-click trade. He's trying to stack and keep the Abaddon away from him, and looks like Varys is just going to mess with this stack a bit, but may pay for this with his life. Haste Rune spawns, and yep, Lelouch, he's good to go. Varys will look for the suicide onto Roshan. Can he time this one? It's going to be hard, and First Blood goes the way of the Mars.
That's a pretty late First Blood from both of these teams, but Polaris and AG are both going to be really aggressive. So to have that First Blood only come in at 6 minutes, not something I expected in this matchup. I did expect a little bit more going in, especially with the lanes you have from both sides being open to that aggression. Polaris does win out in the end. They are making a play onto Xavius, though.
Yep, X pulling back into the boat. No Torrent, but they've got the Inksoul stun, and then the Torrent follows that one up, so they get the kill nonetheless. But Lelouch, though, with this Haste Rune, he held onto it. He was trying to go for a kill, but Abaddon there with the shield, so just instantly bails his buddy out. This is why the Abaddon pick came in. It's so good against the Batrider, against the Bane. It can be good against the Mars if you get enough kind of cast range so that you can save people in the arena.
Yeah, they've got a lot of defense on AG because of that last pick, and you've got to respect that if you're Lelouch, right? Yeah, you've got to really watch the timing of that lasso use, and it also goes the same for Mavis. Down the line, this Bane is going to really have to choose his targets well. With a Nightmare, with a Fiend's Grip, you might just want to always spot Varish out first and Nightmare him to set up for those fights. So we'll see how much more AG can get out from that Abaddon. It's already looking really good. the lanes from all this movement, though, are opening up a little bit more for Natsumi. Again, our troll already has the power treads up, kind of diverging from the early build-up into phase boots, instead going for P-treads. Wami's already level 6, but Natsumi's 7. A level ahead, can always go for the value point in trance if he's under pressure, and he's going for the creep pulse himself. It's not Wami cutting the creep wave, it's our troll pulling back and getting that farm going.
Yeah, he's feeling, he doesn't want to fight with Wami now that he's kind of hit that level 6. Not really a trade you're going to win with reactive armor and the Ring of Health, I guess. So he actually decides he doesn't want to play in this lane anymore. He TP's up top. Look to go pressure that tower. Back in the river, though, it's Batrider who's found an Abaddon. We saw how this one went last time. Does Lelouch go for another kill here? He's got a Flame Break to push him back, and this looks like he might be able to chase down the Abaddon. There was a kill elsewhere. The Queen of Pain did end up dying. Lelouch going to go for a courier snipe as well. So gets a little +1 as they do finally kill the Abaddon.
Support trade so far on the map, so it's not the biggest targets for either side to find. I think this early momentum's playing a bit stronger into what Polaris has, though. Like the blink timing, the travels timing for Lelouch are a lot more impactful, I'd say, than the early Kunkka phase boots and armlet build that we tend to see. So I think you are getting a bit more value from Polaris because of that. There are still good news for AG especially, and you're still getting farm on DB. Our Monkey Kings kind of tooled up for early aggression with the Power Treads and Orb of Corrosion. You can kind of clump around that big spike.
Bottom lane. They want Womi. They lead with the lasso, follow up with the spear into the arena. Womi going to try turn and get a kill on his way out, but the Queen of Pain nicely blink dodges the Timber Chain, and they get the kill.
Big rotation out to shut down Wami. You said it, it's one of his specials. They're keeping him down. They're preventing him from hitting that early spike. AG, off the back of that rotation, are making moves up top. They've got really fast push with the Abaddon to speed him up with that curse. Not the biggest tower to take, but still an objective nonetheless, and that's going to give some much needed gold towards AG's way. Can even make it a little bit easier to contest the triangle if they want to get some forward vision going, prevent the flash farmers from coming out. There are some big ancient stacks up, so they're going to have to keep an eye out and maybe start considering sending Wami that way anyway to help them tank and clear it out themselves. Still, AG, Azura now still doesn't have those major items. Looks like he might be rushing that early BKB. I don't think Polaris will mind that as they've got a lot of spells to pierce, but we'll see how much he does get out here.
Xavius may have bitten off Morikan Chu, just going in for some harass on the Kunkka, but he gets pulled back. Nice Nightmare save. That's going to keep him alive a little bit longer, but he does still end up dying, and it's going to be Lelouch who has to kind of disengage with the Mars TP in. They want to chase, they want to get more. They'd love to find the Azura kill on the Kunkka. Instead, they may have to settle for the support Brimstroke. Abaddon only level 4, doesn't have an ultimate if they can get on top of him, but a great torrent to disengage.
Yeah, we managed to pull back a bit of a hit and run from AG. They still did have to trade off their Abaddon in the end, but we managed to get some aggression going. They're giving Wami some AoE gains as well. Wami already having that Hood of Defiance is feeling a lot more confident in the front line. So that durability play for AG starting to slowly form up with the Kunkka, with the Timbersaw, and even to an extent the Monkey King. So they are looking to hit that time. They're looking to play with that early tankiness they have and kind of start forcing the issue out elsewhere. I don't think Polaris minds too much. Look at those stacks. Lelouch gets 9 stacks of the Napalm on. Firefly up. Lots of farm going his way. No contestation because of where that fight broke out for AG. It broke out a little bit too close to mid. They couldn't swing out to the Ancient. They couldn't force the issue, so the free farm's still flowing for Polaris.
Yeah. And Polaris making sure it's well protected. They have like 4 sentries around that Ancients area, making sure army geniuses don't have any vision of at least when they go for the stacks, so for Polaris, they got to feel pretty good about this. They've managed to keep using this Queen of Pain to defend this bottom lane as well. So this bottom tier 1 tower, despite it, you know, being a Timber Soul lane, often you see this Timber pressure towers take it early. It's still a very healthy tower, but with the Siege Wagon coming in, Army Genius have finally have enough. They want this tower, but they also want this pesky Queen of Pain. And with the Boundless Strike and the Torrent, they should have it. The Silence is there as well, and they'll get the kill. We'll see if there's a counterplay for Polaris. They're making the move up top.
Expended the smoke on 2. They can make a move onto 1. They lose their bot tier 1, but a kill on the Timbersaw again, keeping him down is big here.
Yep. Blink in. They go for the arena, and uh-oh. Womi just gets himself out of there. Complete miss. Have they got a Fiend's Grip? No, Bane not level 6 yet. Instead, they're going to have to use the lasso. The damage should be there with the Natsumi Troll, but he Timber Chains away Womi. Makes them work for it. They do end up getting the kill, and I imagine the tier 1 tower to follow.
And it's still a very
Dire's top
costly
tower
move
is
out
under
for
attack.
Polaris. I think they needed to take that kill a lot faster. That gives AG time to group up mid.
Radiant's
between
middle
Varish
tower is under
and
attack.
Azura do now. So there's a bit of a
Radiant
split push
structures
going
are
in.
fortified.
Polaris's resources are kind of spread across the
Dire's
map.
top
They're going to need to
tower has
respond,
fallen.
especially towards mid. They can't afford to lose that tower. They're going to lose a lot of map control, lose their ancients as well, and some of that flash farm aspect if this does fall early.
Yeah, the Bane was trying to TP bottom to step on the Monkey King, but Monkey knew what was up, so instead they're going to have to rotate down bottom. Lelouch blinks away. Oh, sorry, doesn't blink away. Doesn't get caught by the boat. As he's now on the run, though. He's got the boots to travel for some movement speed, but can he get out of this one? He's so damn fast with the pig pole. He gets back to safety even with the bug on him. He's A-okay. Gets pulled back in and does end up finally getting picked off with the X back. They burst down the big kill, the Bat Rider, but they lose the
Radiant's
Monkey King in
courier
exchange,
has
so
been
both
killed.
teams losing a big hero.
Dire's
And now another
top
X going to
tower
catch
is
up
under
force on the
attack.
Mars. He tries to disrupt the combo with the spear. But with the Chakram damage there, it's just too much for him to sustain through and does end up going down. And you mentioned the importance of this tier 1 tower. Army Geniuses, they're going to get it done.
Radiant's middle
They stay
tower
committed,
has
they
fallen.
force the fights, they split up. They get a big courier kill, they stall out the Maelstrom of Natsumi, and that's going to set back his farming a fair bit, even his damage in some of these fights. So he can't show up to help because that courier was intercepted. A big blow for Polaris, even though it looks like something very negligible. And that Maelstrom timing is just so important. And AG, they're starting to hit that momentum. They're really tanky. They've got the boat buff to play with. Wami's starting to get the levels up on his Timbersaw, ripping through the front
Dire
liner
are
of Polaris.
scanning.
And that's a big issue. It's not easy for Force to just show up, especially when Arena's down. You have to worry about the Timb. You have to be able to lock him in. And it's easier said than done for Mars to keep that hero
Dire's
down.
top
A lot of
tower
that's
is
going to have
under
to come out
attack.
from the Bane, but they can't really coordinate that movement together because Bane's range isn't that great yet. Like, not until you maybe get an Aetherlens up can you really hope to get that duo going here.
Yeah, we'll see if they can find ways to get those kills happening. But yeah, for now, Polaris, they're the ones on the back foot.
Radiant's
Playing the farm
bottom
game. We saw
tower
this kind
is
of work
under
okay
attack.
for them last game. Last game, it felt like they were much more like, let's try and slow roll this, play for our kind of mid to late game timings. Polaris don't seem like a team that, rush into things and play that kind of like chaotic, let's fight all the
Dire's top
time.
tower
The
is under
old school
attack.
SCA Dota that some of the teams still play, but I feel like that's not really Polaris.
Yeah, it feels like they've refined that playstyle a lot more. There's specific timings they wait for. Once they start losing a couple fights, they pull back, they build some farm, maybe make some space, especially for Natsumi.
Radiant are
Try to get the
scanning.
ball rolling and bounce back from there. Still, AG are capitalizing here. They got Force out.
Dire's middle
Pulling back
tower
in.
is
X.
under attack.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Blinks out. Nicely timed. Have to be so perfect with that X pull back into the torrent to not let that blink happen.
To my house.
Yeah, it's just tough for AG. Like, their biggest hold is Azura. You don't have hold from your Abaddon. You don't really have hold from your Grimstroke to start off with. And you could start with Phantom's Embrace. The blink is still going to be an issue if they get out. And it makes it a lot tougher for AG to find that initiation. Compared it to Polaris, they've got the grip, they've got Nightmare, they've got Lasso, they've even got Blink Arena Spear. There's much more ways for Polaris to look to pick
This'll
someone
come
off.
in handy.
And for AG, I think what they have to do, and where they've been really successful here, GoDz, is drawing Polaris into a prolonged fight as 5. Like, when it comes down to that 5v5, you have to deal with basically almost 2 lives in every hero because of that boat buff and because of how tanky your frontliners are in AG. So I think that's the best case circumstance for them. Single target pickoffs, not quite as strong in.
Yeah, and it feels like almost with these BKBs coming out on, well, Kunkka has his Monkey also gets his, like, you're almost guaranteed longer fights because of BKBs, and fortunately for Lelouch, he gets caught out, BKB or not. Well, if he had a BKB, it'd be fine, but it's Army Geniuses who just find another pickoff, so thought he was safe after dewarding that cliff, but feels like Polaris may be getting a bit too
Dire's
greedy, trying to
top
farm
tower
all
is
3
under
lanes of the
attack.
map and getting picked off.
Yeah, good punishment coming out from EG to kind of stall out Lelouch's big timings. This is giving Polaris some space out, especially for Natsumi, though. I think that sacrifice is worthwhile when you consider the Trolls playing top lane without being contested, clears out the jungle, there are rotations out there to really punish him. There are good
Radiant's
wards from
bottom
EG to
tower
watch
is
that
under
jungle,
attack.
but they were playing elsewhere on the map. So I think for that trade, Polaris will take it. You're building up well on your Troll. Natsumi does have the Maelstrom built up in his inventory now. So if the farming pace is up, there's some damage coming through. BKB not too far off as well, GoDz. When you've got that Troll with BKB, compare the control once more of AG versus Polaris. AG doesn't have anything to deal with any of those BKBs. So I think that's a worrying sign for AG. They will look to smoke up. They're going to have to play before those BKBs are up.
Oh yeah, the troll. We've seen the Batrider too. Also, his being very important. We've seen a few kills onto him pre-BKB, and AG knowing that those BKBs are probably coming soon, want to keep playing aggressive, at least get down some vision if possible, take over those enemy ancients. But Polaris doing a good job so far of playing keep away. They have the Batrider pushing out bottom, only showing for a second or two. Then he's going to likely just head back into the jungle of the trees, and top lane also being pushed out. But Mavis on the Bane may be caught out here to save Lelouch. They probably don't mind losing the Bane here if it means Lelouch doesn't get picked off, but they don't even end up finding the Bane. So Polaris, they do have their jungle ancients stolen and also a ward put down. Natsumi going to be kind of running into them, but he's being ignored for now. They want Lelouch. He's in the mid lane. He shows he's very aggressive here. He's in full retreat now. Does have the Firefly going and trying to use that to kind of go over some of these cliffs to keep himself alive, and it looks like he will be okay. The movement speed, too much for now for AG to keep up with, as DB, he's still chasing. He's still looking for that Boundless Strike that's on cooldown for the time being, but with the Wing Sail missing, Lelouch, he's trying to juke this way out of this. Boundless Strike is there. Does he go for any kind of a TP out? No. He's just going to accept his fate, it looks like. One or two more right clicks with a Timber Chain and Whirling Death. He does end up going down, but he bought a lot of time. You keep mentioning the Troll Warlord. Natsumi that whole time is just ignoring things and just farming.
And that's the big difference for AG. They're forced to have their pause 1 joined in these early fights. Like, DB, because of that early BKB, knows that this is a fighting item. He has to provide damage, he has to jump in, put his body forward. And that kill does allow him to go into Roche with the DD on Azure, as is tradition here, gods. Got the double damage, but they're immediately scouted out. Polaris get a good scan. They've got Arena, they've got Blink. They can fight in here.
Oh, but they revealed their position with it. They dropped a sentry under the enemy Ob sentry, so they maybe know they're coming. Either way, they get a great Arena onto 4. Doesn't seem like AG were ready for quite this. The boat pulled back onto the Morris. He gets very low here. They should be able to kill a force, but they've delayed the Roshan a good amount of time here. Soulbind on a 2 on the high ground here, going to delay and buy some time to maybe finish off Roshan. Army Geniuses, they haven't got the best damage for Roshan. Without this DD, it wouldn't even be possible. It looks like they will manage it just barely. The Flame Break into the lasso. Going to go in on the Grimstroke, and it looks like AG just want to get themselves out of here. They've got a Fiend script if they can catch any more than the Abaddon. DB thinking about going in with his Monkey King, but without a BKB, he's going to be so careful at how he approaches this one. He's just bouncing on the trees, gets scouted by the Scream. But it looks like Polaris aren't going to get any more than what we just saw. They de-ward the high ground, and we'll have to settle for Kunkka having an Aegis.
I think forcing that Aegis onto Kunkka is actually preferable here for Polaris anyway. Like, you don't have to worry about the Monkey King popping back in. He's most of their damage. He's very durable if he gets the Wukongs as well on the second life. The Kunkka can kind of do the same thing with the boat, but I think it is a little bit more sensitive towards the conditions of that fight, whereas the Monkey King can at least bail out if need be with the Aegis. So it's a little bit easier to manage the Kunkka 2 lives. I think Polaris is going to set up for that. They've also got their own early BKBs running now, gods. Natsumi's BKB's all done. That's why he was running forward. Didn't have to pop it as well. And that should line up with the BKB for Lelouch coming out shortly as well. So you're going to have 2 big cores with that spell immunity and no way for AG to manage it. Now, it's going to be a tough time for AG to keep those cores in check. I think as this game goes on, as those BKBs start popping up, as we get more initiation tools out from Polaris, you know, the Blink down the line, the Aether Lens down the line here for Lelouch, the Aether Lens out for Mavis as well. Once you have that, I mean, you can again dictate these fights any way you'd like, and they go for a smoke play on Polaris' end.
Yeah, they're not going to find too much, it looks like, on the Army Geniuses, who are also smoked. They smoked down bottom, but yeah, the Polaris smoke is the one looking to defend this tower. So
middle tower is under attack.
We'll see if they can get the right initiation for this fight. Batrider, his BKB still not up though, which is such an important item, it feels like, for the Polaris team fight. We'll see if they have a good way to approach this one. The Blink Mars initiation is what they're going to be looking for. Who do they want to go on? Looks like they scat out Lelouch on the Batrider. He's just going to throw some Flame Breaks. Azura looking for the X Torrent. Already used the Torrent. Has hit him with the X here. Is Natsubi going to be the one in the front lines, perhaps, with his BKB? And unfortunately, without Batrider's BKB, it just doesn't look like Polaris could really initiate in there.
Invisibility.
This is a bit of a hurting point for Polaris. In comparison to the other times they commit this many resources, they're not farming the map as well. They are giving Xavius a little bit more to build with, which we know Xavius loves to do. He actually kind of starts playing a semi-core on that pause 4 when the game allows him to. We'll have to see if that's worthwhile. He's making some moves onto LYM though.
Yeah. Can he get this kill? He's, if anything, the one in trouble. He gets stunned up by the Inkswell. Don't think he can kill LYM here by himself, not with the 21 charges, and it's bottom lane where Polaris, they know the Grimstroke's not here, but they want to take this fight. They're TPing in. This time around, Lush still doesn't have BKB. It's coming out in the Courier, I believe, but he gets hit by a Boundless Strike to start things off. Jackram doing some good damage here. Monkey King, Sonic Wave going to get him below half health here. DB needs to get off the Wukong, but he's already so low, and the Troll Waller just trying to finish off with the Maelstrom damage. The Mischief, it buys him some time, but he still ends up dying. That Rider's BKB has now arrived as well if they want to re-engage. Instead, they're just going to blink out the Queen of Pain and trade Monkey King for support, the Bane, the Casualty, and Polaris. Got to be pretty happy with that one.
And it's a big kill. Some missed timings there from AG. The grip came out as the BKB turned on. The Lotus Orb was just a bit too late to stop the grip. And because the BKB was running, they couldn't get off an aphotic Dispel with Varish. So it's that double-edged sword of having a BKB with BKB piercing spells on hand with an Abaddon. You can't save someone if they pop the BKB and get stunned up. And that's just good game sense coming out from Polaris to turn that. And it goes back to that point I made earlier, GoDz, where the Aegis is on the Kunkka, so that means you can just literally dump on the pause one, not care about the Kunkka. The second life of Kunkka, sure, he could maybe get a good boat out, but again, it's not easy for a Kunkka to escape in comparison to a monkey with 2 lives. So Polaris just make it work their way. They just completely ignore the Kunkka, control DB, get the big kill, and start building up. Not a massive lead here yet, GoDz. 1k lead bouncing between AG and Polaris, 9 to 10 in the kill board, very even. But in terms of momentum, I think you can see AG, their lineup doesn't scale as well as Polaris. So that's the concern. Like, you're not big enough on Wami for this Timbersaw to be jumping between tier 2s and tier 3s, as you tend to see him to do when he is popping off. And I think without that kind of greed coming through, you can't enable that farm here.
Top lane, Batrider going to be forced to BKB, it looks like, just to escape. Xavier's tried to help him out with a Yule Scepter, but no way to cancel the BKB TP out. Xavier's also TP's out before the Inkswell Sun, so they get out. But yeah, definitely, see what you mean in these fights. The BKB versus BKB is Polaris having that edge, and also just the late game prowess of Natsumi on this Troll is going to perhaps cause some problems. Monkey King is not keeping up in terms of farm with the Troll. His item build, I mean, he's got the Maelstrom, but it's just Natsumi on Troll. You're not going to keep up with this guy.
It comes down to that early movement out from DB. He was joining his team a lot earlier on compared to Natsumi. And that initial farm he missed out on just gave Natsumi the edge. Yep. Polaris are going for a smoke play, though.
Yeah, they want to capitalize on the Aegis expiring. Lelouch tries to catch out Womi here. Thinks better of it. The Inkswell stun going to be coming in as well. And the Batrider's BKB is still on cooldown. He's going to be careful. The leash is going to catch the Troll as well. I imagine Polaris may just want to disengage off of this one, but Natsumi has other ideas. He presses forward, and the Sonic Wave on the side, not enough damage to kill the Timbersaw. Natsumi's going to have to commit his BKB to turn and fight. He wants the Kunkka. He'll get the Kunkka. Just eats him alive. He's just fighting inside the Wukong's command. He does not give a damn. As DB is going to be pushed back, the Inkswell stun is there. He gets him low. He gets the kill. And he still has the backup from Force to help clean up. They lose 3 on the side of Army Geniuses, but the Troll does barely die there. Xavier's just blinking on the backlines here. Feeds away his life to Womi, who says, thank you very much for the kill. I'll take some more. Force is going to be careful now as well. This is the Timbersaw into the Mars. You just shred him alive. Womi gets low, but Bane can't finish him off. The brain sap damage wasn't enough, and Womi is going to absolutely be thrilled with how that fight went.
Yeah, Wami's happy. The rest of AG maybe not so. Dropping your Kunkka, dropping your Monkey King is still a big loss. But they keep Polaris in check. They somehow kill off Natsumi in the middle. His BKB did fade off, and his Battle Trance disappeared as well. I do love what Natsumi's trying to do, though. He knows he can just stand and fight in Wukongs. He's got the Skull Basher. He's got the Root. He's got a lot of ways of just locking in a pesky Monkey King and kind of keep things in check. AG, though, are showing that they've still got fight in them, despite them maybe losing some of that early momentum. There are angles for them to find. I think the big issue right now for Polaris is that the impact we're getting from Xavius isn't that big. And the Quap on the 4, there's a reason why it kind of faded out in the past couple of years. It's just not been very popular. The impact of Xavius is minimal at least. He spent that entire fight zoning out Wami, which was nice, but he couldn't kill Wami. And it's a Timbersaw, so he can just come back fully healed up. In fact, speaking of Xavius, being tracked down now.
It needs to get to the trees, blink out. Boundless Strike is there, though. And now with the Orchid as well. He's got a Yule Scepter, which he does get off in the end. Is he going to be able to juke this one? No. But And I would say the one thing to add on your point is they've
Dire's
also,
top
not just is he
tower is
not
under
that
attack.
maybe being that effective in the 4 position, but they've dedicated a lot of farm to this Queen of
Radiant's
Pain.
bottom tower is under
Oh, yeah.
attack.
Like they're trying to rush this
Dire's
Ags
middle
build up,
tower is
the
under
swap for the
attack.
Sonic Wave. That could help them in, say, high ground defense and deep pushing, getting some damage off, but it's also a double-edged sword. Although,
This Kunkka, what? He is so deep. He was
What?
hitting a tier 3 tower by himself. Maybe he...
yeah, that's
Did he
not the
cancel the X
coordination
or
from
something?
AG.
I didn't see how that started, but he was just hitting the tower. Maybe he thought he could X himself back and Bane Nightmare cancel or something. Did you see? Or was it just a straight up feed?
X was used. I think he thought DB was still behind him and the rest of the team was still behind him after that gank on the quad. They all kind of backed off, so it looked like maybe a disconnect there in the team, just not having the same play in mind, and that's some good punishment out from Polaris. So they're starting to get their groove back in. A lot of back and forth in this game too here, GoDz. I think for AG, we talk about scaling. I think there is a way for them to scale, especially with the Kunkka. Like the Monkey King can scale, but I think the Kunkka, his disruptiveness in fights with the Shard and Ags is going to be key, but that's way down the line. That is when BKB's fate is fall, though they're making moves here.
Yeah, they jump on Moimi. They spear him into the troll here, but Moimi maybe not the best target to go on. As Polaris with the Kunkka down are just going to safely take the tier 1 mid tower. We've talked about, their play style and not being that kind of hyper aggressive. They're going to play it safe. They're one game away from being 5-0 in Division 2. Then they've just got to get that one last win to secure a slot in upper division. So they don't want to take any chances. And it's Army Geniuses who pressures on them. They want to stay alive. They don't want to get knocked out of the DPC. They're smoking up. They're looking to make a move. With Roshan back, both teams have to play around this pit.
It's a scary fight for AG. There's a double damage on Natsumi right as the Roche showed up. So it's by tradition, GoDz, DD and Natsumi, if they win out that next fight, Roche is not going to take too long. Even without the DD, I think the Troll is going to have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
So let's see what AG can pull out. Wami in a good spot to maybe break some movement out. Has his smoke, but it's not lasting long. Looks like AG doesn't really get much from that smoke use.
Radiant
For
are
Polaris,
scanning.
they'd love to take a fight. Whether it's Roshan or just a team fight in general, a troll with a DD is something that Army Geniuses have to be worried about. Both teams just keeping vision on Roshan. Spears being
Dire's
used just
bottom
to scout
tower
things
is
out.
under attack.
Dire with the Observer on their cliff, whereas Radiant have the Observer on their side of the Roshan pit. So both teams just trying to make sure nothing's going kind of amiss.
Yeah. Scary though, the patience from Polaris pays off. They've got to Satanic now, Natsumi as well. So the frontline fight for Natsumi should be a lot better now, and this is when they go for their own smoke.
Yep. They're drawing lines to wrap around. They don't want to just run right into him, but actually they changed their mind. Natsubi just puts himself in the pit with that double damage, looking to force a response here, and it's going to come in the form of a torrent. Nice Nightmare save, keeps him alive. Natsumi, he's just going to focus his efforts on Roshan with the Satanic. He's healed back to almost full here, but Satanic is on cooldown. I'm sure Army Geniuses would love to just watch this DD expire as this Blink Spear into the arena and into Natsumi's waiting arms. Great kill with the Mars leading the way, and he's got no buyback on Womi. That may be enough to secure Roshan, but it's not over just yet. Queen of Pain with the Yule's going to dodge the Boundless Strike here. DB thinking about a Wukong, thinks better of it as the Orca does finish off the kill. Lelouch on the front lines can't really easily go for it. Lasso does find a pull. Kunkka going onto the high ground. He's stuck on the cliff now. Can they get him down? Are there any 4-staffs? Doesn't look like, and Azura has to TP himself out of there, but he gets stunned before it completes. Abaddon trying to keep him alive with the shield here, but the root coming in. Natsumi popping the Battle Trance is just shredding through him. The grip is there as well on the Monkey King. And Polaris have not only secured themselves Roshan, but they've secured themselves a massive teamfight win here. They're chasing, they're looking for more. It's only supports to worry about, so they can go dive in the enemy base if they want to. And that's exactly what they have in mind. To the tier 4s. If I go in, I might die. I don't think so. Not when it's these supports. The glyph. Okay, fortification. Let's get some multi-shot action going on here. But Force on the Mars is going to look for the TP on out. He's going to be A-okay. Polaris come out on top.
Oh, they play that really well.
Dire's
You saw that
middle
little
tower
move
is
by
under
Forrest.
attack.
That's what he's been trying to do the entire game. Spear first, Arena later. Does finally connect, and that just sets them up for that fight. And we're seeing the same issues here, GoDz, where the cores pop BKBs. Their saving player in that Abaddon can't dispel off that hard single target control they have, and then the fight just breaks apart them. It breaks around them. Still, they catch out Mavis. Good Lotus. They could follow up in this Bane.
Who's
Looks like
catching
Wam's
who?
surrounded.
Yeah, Polaris are here with numbers. There's still 3 AG heroes dead, so they may kill Mavis, but Wormy He needs a way out of this one. It looks like he has it. They don't quite have the damage. Lasso was still on cooldown, so...
Yeah, just a bit greedy there from Polaris.
Yeah.
Lining up for more kills. The respawns are up in AG, so they're all spawned up near the triangle as well. And they're kind of back in action. A 6k lead now for Polaris. Quite the gold advantage. A lot of that riding mainly on Natsumi. They have sacrificed forces farm to an extent to get that done. But I think when you have a troll this fat, you're really happy. Mjolnir's coming out next, not too far off. More attack speed, more damage bouncing through. Just the Abyssal Wall really cleaned it up.
Xavier's getting too greedy again. You talked about the greed from the Bane there, looking for kills. Now it's the Queen of Pain. Did complete a Kaya Sanj. So, Polaris are going into late game with 4 cores, but their greed sometimes is getting the better of them.
That was a bit curious as well with that Kaya Sanj, gods. He had it in his backpack. He had the fluffy hat in, so the stuns were going full duration.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a difference that would have made, but you know, it's a little bit more HP, a little bit more protection. You could maybe have drawn that out a little bit longer, so just a funny little thing to see. But again, this is classic Xavius, you know. Boomy loves playing that greedy pause 4, transitioning into a core. At least he does shift out of the Ags. I don't think that would have done them any favors. Kai Sanj gives a little bit more. We'll see what else he itemizes for, but if this game does drag on, that's another issue for AG. They've got ways to scale with a Kunkka, they've got ways to scale with a Monkey, but they don't have that clutch support that can scale up. And you could argue Axe on LYM with a Grimstroke can make that happen, but it just feels like that Dark Portrait doesn't do as much as it used to.
No, and Troll is not the best portrait hero. Speaking of Troll, Natsumi going to be forced to BKB. The Soulbind is there waiting for him, but elsewhere it's going to be the lasso onto the Grimstroke, so Polaris take that kill, but DB on the front lines goes in with a Boundless Strike, BKB Wukongs. He wants Natsumi, but the Sonic Wave on 3 on the back line. Xavier is catching him with a Blink Scream as well, as Natsumi's just going to turn and lifesteal his way through this one. Has the Basher to try and lock Womi in place, but he gets away for now. The Root is there as well with the Bashers. He's actually going to kill this Timbersaw unless the Torrent can save the day. Womi tries to chain his way out of there, but he's not successful as Lelouch blinks in and gets silenced. Still has a BKB if he needs it. But imagine Lelouch may want to finish off some of these kills. He's willing to take the Torrent, hold on his BKB for later. As Azura on the high ground getting low, but Xavius is trying to finish him off. He wants to go find that Kunkka, and he'll do just that. 4 dead. Army Geniuses, they're falling apart here. The BKB being used to great effect on the Timbersaw, who just fought back and died back. Tips go out. Army Geniuses falling apart here in game number 2.
That's a rough one. I can see what they were trying to do. They might have felt confident going in, seeing the initial BKBs used, but the fight was just too split up. Polaris, again, they don't care for your BKBs. You don't have enough damage to pierce your Natsumi with a Satanic up. So Polaris can always just force this fight out, even if they lose force. That Mars isn't really pivotal anymore to these fights, because you've got a Batrider, you've got a great single target controller in the Bane as well, and you've got a Troll with Basher. So the Mars is really not necessary in taking these re-engages. And off the back of that, they take the top racks. They're going back for the tier 2 mid. Natsumi can just keep running. He only has 10 seconds left in that Aegis. Not much time left. It doesn't feel like he needs it. He hasn't popped it. He's been taking fights with that Aegis and living through anyway. Doesn't have mana to it, so that could be an issue for this next engage.
The Aegis will at least refill his mana pool for now, so that may allow them to get this mid-Rax here, because there's still a good amount of... Timbersaw's dead for 40. Prophet top is just kind of playing with the backlines here. As blinking in, it's Lelouch on the Batrider, and I think Troll's like, I'm going to get objective. You know, you do whatever you want to do to distract them, but 4 Rax advantage here is pretty big as DB. He wants to just try and force a fight, but gets Nightmare before he can get the Wukongs off, and Natsumi's having to turn and fight. Another spear into Arena. The Kunkka, he's the one getting caught this time. He needs to get the Troll in there. Even with the leash, the Troll still finds a good target. Natsumi just eating people alive on the front lines with the Troll. Battle Trance comes out, finishes off the Abaddon. He's got a new target in mind. It's the Monkey King. But with the boat coming in, nice Mischief dodges the damage. Natsumi, triple kill, beyond godlike. Give him some more. Give him an ultra kill. Give him a rampage. But Polaris, I think with the buybacks, are respecting Army Geniuses and just backing off for the time being. Womi trying to get some kills here. Gets forced very low. Blink on cooldown. The flamethrower. He's burning them. Womi doing his best Charmander impression, and he'll get himself a couple of kills to even up this one a bit, but it's still 2 full lanes of Rax.
2 full lanes of Rax, 2 buybacks forced out from AG, this time from the 2 supports. They make it worth their while. They find some punishment out, but the big core still lit. again, they don't really. Polaris doesn't really care about Force. He can die all he wants. He's not worth that
Dire's
much.
bottom tower is
Natsumi's
under
really the big
attack.
gold mine right now, and he's still not dying. He does have his full Scotty up, even more stats for him. Ways to keep down that Timbersaw's mana regen, to keep down the Kunkka, and the Monkey King to an extent as well. I think that's something
Radiant
that AG
are
again has to
scanning.
kind of play around. They are still protected by that tier 2 bot. They lost their tier 1. Polaris has control of the map. Look at Lelouch. He's just looking for a chase here.
Yeah. Has a blink dagger, but no follow-up. I mean, Natsumi a little bit further away. Very different playstyles from Natsumi and Lelouch. One of them wants to just go dive him in, and then you got Natsumi who's like, you know, I'm beyond godlike on troll. He understands he is like, if he dies, that's the comeback possibility for Army Geniuses.
Yeah, he's like the walking turnaround potential there for AG. Lelouch still forcing a lot of heroes on his
are
bomb though.
scanning.
Like that's a lot of people coming in with that smoke as well, just to pin down this bat.
Yeah, Lelouch. How do you go about this though when he can just BKB and walk himself away? They don't even end up getting the X off, and Polaris say, "Oh, you're here. We'll come fight you." They're more than happy to oblige.
Oh.
Blinking in, they do get the silence off. The Spear Arena once again forced 3 times in a row. He's nailed this combo, but it's onto an Abaddon, so looks like Varus will just pop the ultimate. I don't see him getting away from this one, especially if Natsumi wants to commit and chase him down. The Flame Break push back. Lelouch with the shard. Just constant Flame Breaks out of him. They do finish off the Abaddon. Meanwhile, full-on retreat, but it's going to be both supports going down. Possibly more. The Blink Lasso. It's found DB. Oh, boy. He doesn't even BKB in the end. And it just dominoes here. They get one, they get another. It looked like they were just going to get 2 supports, and then suddenly they picked off 2 more.
It's massive. Polaris, again, with that turnaround. Once they saw that commitment onto Lelouch, they just go back in, turn that fight on its head, and this could be it. If they're not careful here on AG, no
That was
buybacks.
a failed
Yep.
blow.
It's the last hero. They're just going to GG out, and it's Polaris, who have 2-0
Dire's middle tower
Army
is under
Geniuses and
attack.
gotten themselves one step closer to making it into Division
Radiant
1.
Victory.
Yeah, very close to it. Undefeated so far, 6-0 in terms of series. AG, and they go back to some specials. I think the games were a little bit closer than you expect. It's not like it was a complete stomp out from Polaris. AG was actually putting up a really good fight. And they go back to their special. They get the Wami, Timbersaw here, which, you know, it's something he can turn games on, but it didn't feel like the best game for it. It felt like a very forced pick from AG. And Polaris just go back to their own comfort picks. They had the Bat Rider for Lelouch. They had Natsumi's Troll, which, again, isn't as common nowadays, but it is one of his best heroes from 2-3 years back. And they just make it work. They buy the space for the Troll. They get control of the map. They had great ways to pierce through the early BKBs of AG. And AG were stuck in that weird conundrum, GoDz, where you had BKBs, you want to use them. If you use them, your Abaddon can't save you. And, well, their spells pierce through BKB, so it's just really tough for AG to build around.
Yeah, and for AG, unfortunately, that puts them in potentially danger of, you know, being kicked out of Division 2 if they don't win, I believe, what is going to be one of their last series coming up. They've still got to play one of the teams who's also near the bottom with them. They have IAP, who is yet to get a win. So for Army Geniuses, it's a tough spot to be in. And for Polaris, well, it feels like we're headed for this like dream ending for Division 2. 3 teams still undefeated, and they haven't played each other. Like, you couldn't script this. I think most people probably looked at the teams and thought Talon would be up there, but it's Ragdoll, it's Polaris, and it's Enigma Galaxy.
Yeah, and it's going to be one heck of a three-way fight. Once those teams start fighting together, you know, against each other, that's when we start to see that hierarchy form up. But there's a lot of potential for huge upsets going up there. And I think when it came down to it, going into Div 2 here for Tour 1, I don't think a lot of people expected that, at least from maybe Polaris. You know, they had a bit of an underdog factor coming in. They looked really good in the last Pro Series, but before that, it's just been up and down. And they kind of form up. And the same thing for Ragdoll. Right, like Ragdoll in the tier 3 tournaments they were playing in, they were winning some of them, but a lot of times they were also dropping some really weird games. It looks like they just cleaned up. So that fight for the top with NGX kind of keeping them locked in is going to be interesting. But for AG, we'll have to see if they can climb their ways out. And again, not many games left, GoDz. So hopes are kind of growing tin here for Armed Geniuses.
Yeah, not many games left, but one of those games that is left is coming up right after this. It's Lil Gun versus Ragdoll. We mentioned those teams at the top who are undefeated. Ragdoll is one of them. And if there's somebody who can take down one of those top 3 teams, I feel like it might be Lil Gun.
Yeah, Lil Gun's got that upset factor. They may have dropped a couple of games where you don't expect, but they are still a team that came from Div 1 last season, so there is something to watch out for. I believe we do have someone waiting for an interview here,
Yes.
GoDz. I think we've got Nico on standby.
Oh, let me pull in Nico. Let me see how we do. I don't think we'll have camera for him, but we can get his audio, so that should be fine. Let's pull him in. Hey, Nico, how are you doing, my friend? Congratulations. Hey, can you hear us
Hello.
okay? Awesome. Congratulations on the win. You guys are now 5-0. Fantastic record. How do you feel like this series went for you guys as a team? John, any questions?
Yeah, you guys look really strong up against AG. There's a bit of a close fight right now for the 2 slots for promotion. So you've got NGX and you've got Ragdoll on your tails. Is there one team that you're more, maybe not scared, but more respectful towards? Do you treat them both as equals, or are you guys confident going in to the last few matches here? Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm curious. I've got word. I know you guys are from Cebu. You're my fellow Bisaya boys there. You guys are playing from a net cafe right now. Would you say that's giving you guys more power? Do you think like going back to the net cafe LAN days is much more helpful for you guys, or is the ping starting to distract you? Because it didn't look like you guys had any sort of delay at all. It just looked perfect. Yeah, fair enough. Now, one last question from me. You guys again are looking to be lined up for promotion. Not yet. There's still a few more fights left. But if you do get promoted onto Div 1, is there any team that you'd want to immediately play against to prove a point against? It's like, is there one team in C that you guys would like to play against in the upcoming tours? Why Boom? Oh, that would be interesting to see then. Do you have anything else, GoDz?
I mean, you mentioned you playing against Boom. I'm curious to hear about your goals for basically the year as a whole. Obviously, you guys want to make it into Division 1. Do you see this team growing and being a team like that? Are you looking to contend to get to majors, TI? Where do you see your team going long term? Awesome. Well, you're on the way. I mean, undefeated so far, so congratulations. And also thank you for taking the time to do an interview with us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that does it for our first series of the day. As mentioned, we have one more coming up. It is going to be Ragdoll versus Lil Gun. John, you'll be sticking with me, so I look forward to covering that one. But it will be a bit of an extended break because it was a 2-0. So we'll be back in about 45 minutes with our next series of the day. We'll see you guys there.